What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be training some chest over at my local Planet Fitness. Like I mentioned in the last video, I just moved to Florida, so Planet Fitness has been coming in clutch in terms of just a gym to train at until I kind of learn my area a little bit better. There's a lot of good gyms around here that I'm like doing little day passes at. But until I find the perfect one, I am not going to commit to a membership yet. Obviously the gym is a huge importance in my life, and I want to make sure the gym I'm signing up for is the right one. But Planet Fitness gets the job done. Hate all you want about it, but I guarantee they got more equipment in that gym than you got in your house. So unless you got a freaking sweet home gym, I don't want to hear it. I'm just fucking jealous then. But yeah, we're going to train some chest now. Pretty simple training approach coming from me, to be completely honest. I like to keep it pretty basic. I don't like to overcomplicate things, and I want to say I'm a science-based ego lifter. In terms of TikTok talk. You know what I mean? I don't really like the whole ego lifting controversy and science-based controversy. Just shut up and fucking lift. Like, sorry for the language, but if everyone just stopped complaining and comparing, and they just actually focused on themselves in the gym, who cares how you fucking lift? Just get in and do your shit. So that's a little bit of a heated topic for me, so sorry if I came off a little aggressive there. But yeah, I think that's a problem in the fitness industry right now, is everybody's thinking that their way is the best and there's no other way to do it. You look at those top guys on the Olympia stage, like you see how Samson Dauda trains, and then you see how Nick Walker trains. They're both hitting the fucking muscle intense. Nick obviously has a slower, more controlled approach, where Samson sometimes throws around some weights, and they're both freaking huge. So who's to say that one is right and one isn't right? You know what I mean? Just muscle growth is an adaptation to a stress. And now, I'm not the genius who came up with that line right there. One of my people I look up to the most in terms of bodybuilding, Dorian Yates, said that in some movie he was filming. But however you stress the muscle, it's gonna grow. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, there are different ways to stress the muscle, and each way is gonna have a bit of a different outcome, but you're still gonna grow, and you gotta find what works for you. I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but we're gonna cut that short, and we are going to be talking about my chest day. I typically like to start off chest with a little bit of rotator cuff warm-ups. I've had my fair share of shoulder tweaks in the past, and let me tell you, it is not fun. So I spend a good 10-ish minutes or so warming up my shoulders, warming up my forearms, just making sure every sort of muscle that interacts with an incline Smith machine bench is warmed up before I go and hit the incline Smith. The last thing I want is to just run right over there because one's open and then hurt myself, so take your time, warm up. If you're like anything like me, your day kind of revolves around the gym, and you want to make it count. You don't put hours and hours of effort into fitness for the workout to be rushed. You want that to be done perfectly. And of course, perfect is a terrible word. I probably shouldn't have used that, because nothing is perfect, but you gotta just make the most out of it. Making the most out of it is perfect. It might not go 100% to plan, but in life, nothing goes 100% to plan. And I'm gonna be real with you guys. This is my 4th time trying to film this clip because I just couldn't get the words out right. And that's fine. Nobody's perfect, nobody's a robot, and that's the beauty of life. You gotta be you, and everyone has their flaws, everyone fucks up, and you just gotta learn to adapt to reality, and adapt to the change, and you're gonna be a better person from it. So like I was saying, warming up for chest. Then we're going to start off with incline Smith machine. Just to fill you guys in on a little bit of my goals right now, I'm actually finishing out a cut. I got about a week to 2 weeks left, and then I'm going to slowly start increasing my calories to go into the bulk. So I'm probably not going to go too heavy on incline Smith. Now, with that being said, each set is going to be pushed to absolute failure, but it's not going to be failing at like 5 or 6 reps. It's going to be more failing at like 8 to 10. There's no reason for me to be pushing that low of volume right now in a pretty big deficit. That's just a recipe for getting injured. So obviously, cutting to bulking, your training doesn't want to change too much, but you do need to train intuitively and, train within your means. And we can get into more of that another time in terms of what I mean by that. But yeah, we're going to be hitting some incline Smith first, 2 pretty intense sets over there, and then we're going to move over into probably a flat press. I usually like to do incline, flat, and then fly. Only 3 movements, but it's been working. My chest is growing from it, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You could see a bunch of people post shit online, but if what you're doing is already working for you, you'd be stupid to switch it up. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's talking about this upper lower split, and if you want to do that, great, do it. But I mean, if what you've been doing is working and you're seeing results, why change? You know what I mean? Like, if you're already seeing, you're doing this to see results and you're already seeing them, so why change? If you're working out for a couple months straight and you're not seeing any change, then you got some thinking to do, my friend. But until then, if you're making progress, stick with it. Don't change that. But yeah, pretty simple. Incline Smith, flat press, maybe some dips, and then a fly. Pretty simple chest approach there. After chest, I do like to hit a few sets of biceps. Now, you might be thinking, chest and biceps, why not chest and tries? And my thought process behind that is that, after chest, my tries are pretty shot. And if I go and try to do a whole tricep workout, it's not going to be as good. My biceps, on the other hand, are fresh and they feel good. So we're going to be hitting some biceps after. Now you're thinking, oh, do you do back and biceps again? No, I do back and triceps for the same reason. After a bunch of pulling in rows, my biceps are fried, but my triceps are friggin' perfect. So that's why we do that. And no, me training biceps with chest doesn't affect my back training. I don't believe that at all. Your back is a huge muscle. And if your biceps are sore, you might be more likely to target your back because you're gonna be like, oh shit, I'm feeling my biceps too much. Let me try to start using more of my back. Now, that's a bit tricky, and perfecting back training comes with time, in my opinion. It's definitely a harder muscle group to train, but today's chest day. We're not talking about back. We'll get into back a little bit more next week when I train. But yeah, we're heading over to the gym now. I like this Planet Fitness. There is a closer one to me, but I'm heading over to the further one. They just got a little bit better of equipment, so it's worth the extra 5 minutes. I'm not in a rush. It's Saturday. I got some time. Yeah, so heading over there now. Pre-workout meal, I had some cream of rice, banana, a little bit of cinnamon, pink salt, and a whey protein isolate. All of those components of that meal were strategically thought out and picked. Cream of rice is a very easily digestible carb, fast absorbing. It's not like a potato that's gonna take its time to digest. Before a workout, I want a quick, clean meal. The banana, I always think you should have some sort of a fruit before you lift. Again, those natural sugars are gonna fuel your pump pretty nicely. And banana obviously has a ton of potassium, and if you didn't know, potassium helps with muscle contractions. So you're going to be able to feel the muscle you're working a little bit more. Put a little pinch of sodium or a pinch of salt in there to increase the sodium, which is also going to help with pump. And to my point about digestion, what are you doing, my friend? People in Florida cannot drive, I swear, but whatever. Like I was saying about digestion, your pre-workout meal needs to be digested easily and good. So whey protein isolate is a fast absorbing protein. It's going to be digested very soon, or very quick, I should say. So that is the reasoning behind that. Intro workout, I got some essential amino acids to help with muscle recovery. with a little bit more salt as well. You know, being that I'm on a cut and the calories are low, that added sodium is going to help with the pump when I don't really have the carbs to do so. So that's a quick 0-calorie trick to advance your pump in the gym. You know, when you're bulking, you could have your Gatorade powder, your carb powder, this and that, you know, if you have the calories to fund that. But right now I'm broke in terms of calories. You know, I'm in a deficit. I'm in no man's land. I'm in debt with my calories. So we gotta find 0-calorie options to you know, get a very similar result. Being that I'll start the bulk in a couple weeks, you know, I will start drinking intra-carbs, but until then, sodium is the way. You know, I don't think you should shy away from sodium. However, I do think you should watch out with how you're getting your sodium in. You know, if you're having a lot of processed deli meats, that sodium I try to stay away from. But if you could control the amount of sodium you have in your food, like you're cooking your food from home and you're pinching the salt in, it's definitely the #1 way to go in my book. But yeah, what else did I want to say on this car ride over there? Oh, I remember now. Cardio. You know, being that it's Saturday, I wanted to sleep in a little bit. I usually do 5:30 a.m. fasted cardio before work. But being that, you know, I was off today, I didn't want to wake up as early. I'm going to do my cardio after the lift, which is going to delay the post-workout meal. But I actually packed it with me, so I'll be able to eat that 20 minutes sooner, you know, being that I don't have to drive home first to eat. I don't necessarily believe in like an anabolic window. I mean, I think that there are obviously benefits of eating right after your workout. Like you shouldn't wait too long, but don't stress about it, because if you stress about it, stress is no good for muscle growth either. So just stay chill, you'll get the food in, don't worry. But, you know, try to eat within the hour, you know, like within an hour of after you're done training. So for post-workout, I got 96 4-ground beef and 4 caramel rice cakes. You know, something with a little bit of sugar in it after your workout, even if you're cutting, is good to replenish that glycogen that you just depleted during your lift. And yeah, pretty solid there. I'm actually running over to Vitamin Shop after I train too, after I'm done eating. So I'll be able to show you guys some of my supplements that I take too. I hate when this happens, and I don't know if any of y'all can relate, but I always run out of my damn supplements the day I have to go food shopping too. So I end up spending so much freaking money, and it just, my bank account, I feel for it a little bit, you know, on days like today. I wish I could almost run out of my supplements on like a Wednesday and then go food shopping on a Saturday, and then it like spreads out my purchases. I feel like I'm like just spamming my credit card on days like today, which is no bueno. But it is what it is, you know, it's life. Money's gonna, you know, go no matter what. So it's just psychological nonsense. But anyway, enough yapping. I'm pulling into the gym now. And like I was saying, after the gym, when I head over to Vitamin Shop, I will show you guys my supplements that I take. I'm getting a new pre-workout and a new protein powder. So, you know, someone like me who eats protein powder every day, it's kind of a fun day when, you know, you run out, because now you get to switch up the flavors a little bit. It's like, ooh, what flavor is my shake going to be now? Or, ooh, what flavor is my whey drip going to be now? And if you don't know what that is, I will be enlightening all of you on whey drip one of these days. Just a fun way to have some protein powder on your oatmeal or your cream of rice. But yeah, with that being said, still learning how to use this camera. We are at P-Fit right now, and we'll get in my car. We'll sit in my car, kind of listen to some music. I got some, wrong button. Got some Pantera on. We'll get in the right headspace, because, you know, that's what it's all about, baby. You know, you're physically working out, yes, but I don't know about you guys, but to me, it's more mental. You know, I could physically do the motions, but if I'm not mentally in it, it ain't going to be the same. So, you know, some of you guys, like me in the past, maybe have rushed into the gym, but if you got the time, take a minute, let it in, like soak it all in. You know, this is what you live for right here. You know, you're about to go train. This is what you this is where you grow. You know, if you're passionate about lifting, which you probably are if you're still listening to me yap 15 minutes into this damn video, you know, get into the right headspace, you know, before you go and train, because we're going to let it rip in there. And yeah, no more talking. Peace out, guys, and I will see you all in the gym. All right, what's up, guys? So I'm starting off my chest workout with some heavy incline Smith machine. I warmed up with just the bar, then went over to a plate and a quarter, and then 2 plates. I did a bit of a feeler set before actually ripping it for a work set. All the feeler set is really doing is just kind of feeling out a weight that is most likely going to be a work set. It's quite literally exactly what it sounds like. I don't really like going into a work set not knowing how it's going to feel 100%. And in my head, doing 1 rep with the weight that I'm going to be using for the first work set is not going to drain my strength at all. You know, maybe like 0.5%, but I would definitely think or take that 0.5% loss any day of the week, because what that 1 rep is going to do is really ensure that my first work set is, you know, the perfect weight for me. So 2 plates flew for 10 reps, and then I did some partials after. Now you're seeing me do my second set here, which is a plate and a quarter or a plate and a 25 for a bit of a back off set. I'm taking a little bit of a wider grip here, trying not to stick my butt up too much. Kind of annoying that I just stuck it up right there, but I was trying to keep the form a little bit more strict. And as you could see for this back off set, I'm actually turning it into a rest pause set where I do as many reps as I can, rest for about 20-ish seconds. I definitely cut that time a little bit short in the editing. I did wait a bit longer. And then right back into the set to go all the way to failure again. It's a good way to add volume to a heavier set by just giving yourself a little break in the middle. But after 2 heavy sets of incline Smith, I moved over to this new plate-loaded chest press that Planet Fitness has. It's honestly not terrible. Definitely not my favorite machine in the world, but it definitely got the job done. I'm doing this voiceover a day later, and my chest is freaking shot from this workout right here. But I worked up to 3 plates for my first work set, and I believe I got about 6 reps here. And typically 6 reps is a little bit on the lower end of volume than I typically want. So I turned this into a bit of a drop set where I dropped it to the 2 plates on each side just to increase the volume for the set. Typically I like to shoot for the lowest amount of reps being 8. So anything under that, I always try to either do a rest pause set where I'll rest after and hit a few more reps, or I'll just simply do a drop set right here. This machine is pretty nice though. If you do go to a Planet Fitness and you haven't given it a shot, I highly recommend it. It is pretty nice that, you know, the machine kind of converges in at the top, so you're able to kind of, you know, get a better squeeze at the top of the rep and a better stretch at the bottom. Now, I'm going to have the opposite effect right here on these flies. I don't really get much of a stretch on these cable flies right here, and that is why I only did 1 set here. You know, I should have probably picked an incline bench. That way I could have sat a little bit higher than the cables, but even setting the cables at the lowest height and bringing the cables all the way down, I'm still not getting as good of a stretch on my chest. As you can see there, I'm trying to retract my scapula and, you know, force a stretch a little bit more, but nevertheless, the peak contraction and the peak squeeze at the top was definitely beneficial. Just wish I could have gotten a little bit more of a stretch at the bottom. But, you know, after that set there, you know, it didn't feel the best to me, so I only did 1 set there. I moved over into the pec deck machine. Now, one thing that I think Planet Fitness lacks is the quantity of this machine. You know, I had to actually wait like 5 minutes for this piece of equipment right here. And I typically don't like to wait for a machine. I kind of like to just keep the workout going. But, you know, pec deck is kind of like a staple in my chest day. So I did wait, and, you know, it was honestly worth the wait. It felt really good. And on these right here, I'm honestly just trying to touch my inner elbows. That's honestly always been the little mind muscle connection that I that I've noticed that always helped me. I don't really think about touching my hands because then I feel like I engage a lot of front delt and bicep. But when I think about having my inner elbows touch, I engage all of my chest. But after 3 sets of pec deck, chest was completely done, and now we're moving on to some biceps. First bicep movement of the day, I'm doing these seated dumbbell curls. The bench is on a slight incline here. Honestly, from this angle of the camera, you don't see it too well. But honestly, these reps I was pretty happy with. They were very strict. I wasn't really cheating them too much. I've got the 40s, I believe, right there. And then right after failing at around 6 or 7 reps, like I said earlier, I don't like to get under 8. I did a little bit of a drop set to these standing dumbbell curls. I only showed a couple of those reps though because the camera was a little blurry, and I don't know about you, but I hate watching blurry footage. But after those 2 sets of dumbbell curls, I moved over into preacher curls, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, preacher curls are my absolute favorite bicep machine. They get a really solid stretch and a good squeeze at the top. I did pick too light of a weight right here, though. As you could see, these reps are a little bit quicker. If I could go back in time, I would have done these a little bit slower. But honestly, second bicep day of the week, as long as I got a pump, I'm happy with it. But yeah, that's the end of the workout. I'm going to show you guys the quick pump check, and then I'll see you guys back in the car for the post-workout talk. All in all, solid chest day. I did 8 sets of chest and 4 sets of biceps, but I will see you guys back in the car. All right, YouTube, I am back in the car after the gym. All in all, pretty solid lift. As you could see, I did 8 sets of chest, starting off with some incline Smith machine where I did 2 plates for 10, I believe. And then, I did some partials after just to increase the intensity of the set. Then I did a bit of a back off set after with a plate and a 25, which felt pretty solid. And then after those 2 sets there, I felt like I was pretty done with incline Smith, so I moved on to the plate loaded chest press, where I did another 2 sets. And honestly, that incline Smith took a lot out of me, especially being in a pretty big deficit. That first heavy movement where I'm giving it my all does take a lot out. So that's why I only really did about 4 sets of pressing. Typically for chest, I'll try to do 6 sets of pressing and then like maybe 2 or 3 fly, but I actually did 4 fly motions today, being that I wasn't feeling as strong in the pressing department. So I wanted to get more of a stretch and squeezed focused second half of the chest workout. So I started off with those cable flies, which felt like garbage. That's why I only did 1 set there. And then I did 3 sets of the pec deck because that never fails to fry out my chest. So after 8 sets of chest, I moved over to some biceps where I started off with some seated dumbbell curls. I put the seat on a slight incline. That way I could kind of keep my shoulders back and isolate my biceps a little bit more. I went pretty heavy on those today. I did 2 sets with the 40s for about 8 to 10 reps. And then I did like a little bit of a mechanical drop set by, actually not just a mechanical drop set, but like a legit drop set by standing up and dropping the weight. And if you don't know what mechanical drop set is, it means you technically use the same weight, but do the motion in a different path to make it a little bit easier. So if I were to do regular dumbbell curls and then switch to hammer curls after, obviously hammer curls are a bit easier than your standard dumbbell curls. So that's technically like a mechanical drop set because, you're doing more volume with the same weight almost instantaneously. But regardless, we did 2 sets of the dumbbell curls, and then we moved over to the preacher curl machine, which I absolutely love, and we did another 2 sets there. So yeah, the whole workout was 8 sets of chest, 4 sets for biceps. And as you know, I do have a dedicated arm day if you watched my last video. So hitting chest and biceps is like my second day that I hit a little bit of biceps. But again, on my real arm days, it's about 8 to 10 sets for bis. And then on my secondary arm day, I guess you could say, it's more only like 4 to 6, today being only 4. But needless to say, it was a great pump. I felt like doing any more would have been pointless. And yeah, it was a good workout. After all the chest motions and bicep motions were done, I hopped over to the elliptical and did 45 minutes of cardio. And being that I've been doing them in the morning to doing them after the workout, I've come to the realization that doing it in the morning is so much better. I absolutely hated and literally like suffered through that 45 minutes right at the end of the workout. I kind of liked this week being that I like trained, or I did the cardio in the morning and then left, and then trained and then left. Like I hated having to stay for another 45 minutes today, but you got to do what you got to do. And I'll tell you right now, the mental agony of being on that elliptical for 45 minutes was nowhere near as bad as the mental agony that I would have felt tomorrow if I didn't do the cardio, or even tonight going to bed. I'd feel like a piece of crap, honestly. So happy it got done, and you just got to keep that mentality all the time. But after the lift, I got back to the car. I didn't obviously record any of it, but I ate my ground beef and caramel rice cakes. And now I'm heading home to shower and just kind of chill for the rest of this Saturday. I know I said I was going to head over to Vitamin Shop to pick up some other supplements, but I believe they are closed. It's a little later. I got out of the gym a little bit later than I anticipated. So no Vitamin Shop today, unfortunately. It's not like I really completely ran out of all my supplements today, but I'm at that point where I got about maybe 2 days left, and then we got some problems. So I definitely have to get on buying all that shit pretty soon. But that could wait till tomorrow. You know, Sunday I'll get all my shopping done. And I don't think I'm going to record any of it, but I will definitely show you guys what I get in the next video. But plans for the next video, I'm probably going to do a bit of a full day of eating next week, so you can definitely look forward to that. I'm not going to be doing a recording every single day, but I'm going to get at least 2 to 3 workouts out to you guys every single week, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for sticking around and watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Again, not sure what that workout will be, but I'm anticipating that it's probably going to be a back day. Either back, shoulders, or legs is what you can expect to see next. But yeah, bulk starts soon. Can't wait to document all of that. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.